year, and then Corona came, and like things happen, 2 months in, and we're trying to figure out how to not, go to the fridge every 2 seconds, how to how to not eat everything in sight, for us and for the kids. So for those of you who you probably know me, but I am Joycelyn Francis of JoyFitWorld.com. I am a fitness coach, NASM certified nutrition coach, and I train regular folk and folks that want to become athletes. So young athletes, people who want to train like an athlete. All right. So tonight is the first day of 3-week series. So remember that I keep looking on this side because I see you guys over there. So don't mind. I see you on this side. It's a 3-week series, and the reason why, because I wanted to do like 1 hour. We don't want to stay too long because I know you have lots of things to do online. All right, so we have a 3-week session tonight. We're going to be talking about some things. You're going to love those topics. But before we jump into that, my speaker tonight, guest speaker, is Dr. Siobhan Jackson Michelle, and she's a naturopathic physician and best-selling author. And there's a next book coming out soon, so stay tuned for that as well. She specializes in natural medicine, women's hormonal and fertility medicine, integrative solutions for your hormonal health, so much stuff. Like I always tell her, she just have all the goods. She needs to be sharing it because we, as especially Black and brown women, we need to get this information to know like why our body works the way it does, why we, get sick, and other people may not get sick because they eat certain things, and so on and so on. So Siobhan, you want to introduce yourself a little bit?
Yes. Okay, so as Joyce said, we have been friends for many years, and we have been talking about doing something like this for some time. And I think honestly that, I believe everything happens the way it's supposed to happen. So right now we're all in our homes, and the present circumstance of the coronavirus has actually thrown wellness and caring for your body and being a good steward over your body to the forefront like never before. And I do think like in this climate, more people are receptive to wanting to know how to get healthy, how to stay healthy, and I think in particular, people of color, because of how this, this virus is affecting our community in particular. I think it's really a wake-up call because we need it, and the time is nigh. So I'm so excited to be here. And when Joycelyn, we talked about like all the things that we wanted to talk about, I'm like, Joy, there's no way we can do that in an hour. This has to be broken up. So here we go with the 3-week series. As Joy said, I've been a naturopathic doctor for 10 years, a little over 10 years. I'm actually a New Jersey native, and I got into naturopathic medicine really by a fluke. I myself started to go into, I would say, a vegetarian diet when I was in college, and it was really my boyfriend at the time, my husband now. It was kind of a dare, like he was just eating Subway sandwiches with that cardboard lettuce and tomatoes every day, and I'm like, you're gonna die of malnutrition. So I started to just like look into different things on campus, and I started to cook a little bit and experiment with beans. I mean, I never ate beans like that. My mom hates beans, and we don't eat beans. I'm not from, my husband's from the Caribbean, so more, I would say, a staple in his diet, not mine. So anyway, I just started to experiment with food, and as I took on that diet alongside of him, I lost weight. I have chronic scoliosis, so I always have back pain. I found that my back pain was better. Not only that, I found also that like I just felt better, and I'm like, whoa, there's something to this eating healthier kind of thing, right? And then anyway, all the kind of stars aligned, and I found naturopathic medicine. I've been doing that. I've been a college professor, and I've also in the last 5 years been working in the dietary supplement side. working in strategy for natural products. And that kind of has taken me like all over the world to different areas of the world where, I think it's a little bit more foundational to use food as medicine, to use things from the earth as medicinal and not just kind of run to the pill jar. So you actually see a lot of these different medicines coming from other places in the world. But the US is the largest market for it. So I'm so happy to be here, and sorry it took a long time to bring that story to fruition, but I'm happy to share, and I'm so happy Joy has pushed me to the point that we could actually throw this together. And I think it's going to be exciting for the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, I mean, we have to share, the information is out there, and, the thing is, it's out there, but our people not able to get it, I think, or maybe it's not all out there, you know what I mean? Because some information you look at online and, it's iffy, some fake news, some you're not sure about, but, being able to, do this and just bring some type of information now, especially during COVID times. And we know how, we're going to talk about that tonight, immunity health, which is the biggest talk for, during this COVID-19. Sorry, let me see. My screen is acting weird. Oh, that's me. I already introduced me. All right, so tonight's topic, we're going to go through natural medicine for your health and well-being and immunity health. Now, these two topics are very broad. So that's why it's just two. There's a lot of information when it comes to natural medicine and your health and well-being, and a lot of information when it comes to immunity health. And we know one thing with the COVID-19, the coronavirus, it's, when you have weakened immune system, your likelihood to, get it or be 10 times more likely to get it, and so on, like what we've been hearing. Now, if your immune system is a little bit on the healthier side, you can probably be, not contract it in any way. I've been saying since we knock on wood, I've been saying since the virus came about, I've been saying too, like my prayer is like, hey, I am immune to this. I literally keep praying that prayer every single day. I'm immune to this virus. I'm immune to this virus. And I continue to take the precaution necessary that, you put your mask on when you go to the grocery store, you wash your hands. I mean, we've been doing that. If you're from the Caribbean, it's always a cleanliness thing. Wash your hands, take your shoes off, and all these things. So, just getting, like, even for us, we call it bush medicine. But, the actual medical science term is natural medicine, like, using ginger, garlic and stuff. And Siobhan is going to go into all of that. So we're going to tackle first natural medicine for your health and well-being. And the first question I have for Siobhan is, what is natural medicine and how can we benefit from it? And give us some examples of like foods and how it relates to, our health. And then we'll tackle the immunity one a little later on.
Sure. So natural medicine, I think, is a broad term. And at the same time, I think it kind of speaks for itself, right? So we're talking about medicine that's derived, or things that have medicinal value that's derived from nature. And it's very interesting when you really pare down that word and you like hone in. A lot of medications actually have derived from natural things. Many medications have derived from nature. And what happens in the development of a drug is this thing from nature might have some properties, but if it's a particular plant, it has so many components, right? That maybe the effect that you're looking for is dampered a little bit by these other components. And so part of the development of a drug is to hone in on a particular, compound that has the effect that you're looking for. And the downside of that is that you remove the complexity of that product, of that natural substance, where there was possibly balancing things in that plant that balance the effects so that you wouldn't have strong side effects, but at the same time, you would have health benefits. And so I say that to say natural medicine is such a broad word, but we have to realize that even a lot of our pharmaceutical drugs derive from nature, and it's just how they have been tweaked and manipulated, really for the purpose of getting a strong reaction, right? You have someone who's, for instance, like metformin, which is a very popular diabetes drug. Most people don't realize this comes from a plant named a goat's rue. It's a natural plant actually that this derives from. That the problem is when you hone in too much, you lose some of the balancing effect. Okay, so naturopathic medicine, which is one area of natural medicine that really focuses on six principles. Okay, and it's a system of medicine that by training, it's a doctoral degree, it's a medical degree, just like an MD. You go through it after 4 years of undergraduate work, and our training is pretty extensive, and you guys can look that up. But it's founded by six principles, and those principles include: first, do no harm, right? So the goal is to help someone, but it's context in the fact of first, do no harm. Okay. Then there's another one of those principles is the healing power of nature. And this is going to really lead us into the second part of what we talk about today with immunity health, where we are saying that the healing power of nature means that, hey, you have an immune system. You were born with this thing. Majority of us were born with an immune system, which means that it's not just about the bug, it's also about your defenses, and that the body can actually mount a response. And even as Joy was saying, like, I'm immune to this virus. It doesn't mean that you're not gonna be exposed to the virus. It means that when you are supporting your body, and again, we are making, I guess, broad generalizations here because some healthy people have gotten sick with this virus as well, but we're making broad generalizations. If you are supporting your body properly with all the foundational things that it needs: sleep, good nutrition, low toxicity, exercise, movement, good blood flow from that movement, etc. Those things will actually benefit your immune system. And therefore, though the virus may be around you, you may be exposed, the immunity actually comes from your body protecting you. And this is, you guys hear about the whole talk with antibodies now, people wanting to test to see if they have antibodies and all of this. That goes to the fact that you could have been exposed and you can be walking around and not have any symptoms. Why? Because your body mounted a response. That response has to do with your antibodies and your immune response. And therefore you did not notice any substantial symptoms, or the symptoms were very mild, like a regular cold. So second thing with naturopathic medicine is to, as I said, the healing power of nature, and that's the nature of you as a human being, all of the systems that are in your favor working for you, and the healing power of nature when it comes to medicinal things, food, etc., water, air. Another one of those principles have to do with the doctor, the naturopathic doctor. So the doctor is supposed to be a teacher. Actually, in Latin, doctor, docere means teacher. And so, the way our system of medicine is, unfortunately, doctors don't get to spend a lot of time with their patients, right? So 8-10 minutes, you're in and out of the office. But with natural medicine, part of it is giving the power back to the person, right? So you have to learn, you have to adapt, you have to make new changes, of things that maybe you didn't know what it took to support your health. And now you are, you are doing different things. So doctor becomes a teacher in that they are trying to instill good foundational things in you so that you can be in control of your health. So that's also important with natural medicine. It's kind of giving that control back to the patient, not just you take this drug and then the drug is going to do all the work. Hey, this is the kind of lifestyle. You should be employing these kind of like sleep hygiene efforts so that you can get a good night's rest. You should be cooking more or whatever, right? So giving tools, right? So doctor or
Yeah.
teacher. Um, there's two other, and I'll just three other. I'll just say them quickly. Another one is prevention. So you're always looking to see prevention, not just what's happening right now, but how the downturn of this thing could be. That's
Mm-hmm.
another concept of natural medicine. Another concept is treating the root cause, right? So when you're talking about natural medicine, which is makes it very different from conventional medicine, is trying not to treat symptoms, right? It doesn't mean that you don't ever treat symptoms. It doesn't mean that you don't ever help people get relief from the things they're dealing with or suffering with naturally. But you are trying to treat the root cause. If the root cause is bad diet and you just take a pill,
Yeah.
right, to deal with your blood sugar, you never fix your diet, well, guess what? You're not going to really see the benefit that you need to see even from that pill because
Exactly.
you're not treating what's at the foundation. So treating the root cause is very, very important to natural medicine. And then the last of those, oh, sorry, the last of those is having to do with, what do we say? First, do no harm, the healing power of nature, identifying, treating the cause, doctor's teacher. And then the other was treating the whole person. So when we talk about natural medicine, it's not just about the physical, right? We're talking about treating the mind, the body, the spirit, right? If your spirit is low, if you don't have that vigor to live, if you don't have the ambition, if you're not taking care of that part, that plays into the mental health, that plays into the physical health. And I know Joy does so much work around mental health and emotional health. And we know that when that's off, when you're feeling down, like you just almost give up on your physical. You just don't care, right? You just let things go. So it's about looking into the mind, body, and the spirit, treating the whole person. And I think that kind of sums up what natural medicine is. And those are kind of the foundational principles of naturopathic medicine and the work that I do.
Awesome, awesome. Mel have a question, but before Mel question, what are some natural remedies that, during this time, just to, we're going to jump into the immune, and with this question, we're going to jump into immunity health. What are some natural medicine or natural ways to boost the immune system? And to add to that question as well, it's what are some not easy, if parents who are strapped for cash, that's how Mel put it, strapped for cash, and have trouble to balance funds and stuff like that. What's the best possible or most affordable way to support the immune health for the kids and for themselves?
Okay.
So that's two questions.
Two questions. All right. So yeah, we're probably pulling in a little bit of the immune health part of this here, which is fine because I think they go so much hand in hand. You know, there's a lot of talk around what actually can help us to boost our immune system during this time. And a very interesting fact that I just came to know the other day, and I think I knew it in my spirit, like when I go food shopping, because I'm like, why is my bill so large? Besides the fact that you're feeding kids all day long who are eating all day long and, multiple meals. But I just kept thinking to myself, I feel like the food is a little more expensive. They've actually said because of all the shortages, food has gone up by a little bit over 2%.
Yes.
So I don't know if you probably have noticed it, but it's a fact that across the country, maybe even the world, food costs have gone up by roughly 2%. And, so people are out of work, not getting money, and the cost of food is going up. So this is quite a conundrum, I think. I think it's really a crazy place because food is medicine. I do really, really believe that. And I do believe that, sometimes you can speak to the fact that people aren't putting their money in the right place. When we're outside of this, pandemic scenario, you can maybe speak to the fact that people don't necessarily prioritize, healthy food over other things in their life. But under these particular scenarios, when you know that people's, homes are being affected from a financial perspective. And on top of that, you know that food costs are going up. Well, how do you figure this in? Well, I'll tell you what we've been doing at my house. Because I'm not a vegetarian at the moment. I consider myself a flexitarian, which is actually a category if you've
Me
never
too.
heard of it. Essentially, it's a plant. I have a plant-based diet. So as much as I can, I consume meals that don't have meat, and when I want meat, I eat it on occasion. That's kind of like what a flexitarian is. But one of the things that we've been doing here is using beans and lentils, using these what are considered cheap foods, right? And sometimes considered poor foods. Well, guess what? We're in a poor, strapped condition. Even the best of households are taking the best of households in the sense of most, people who may not have struggled before are now struggling. So all of us actually can take heed to this. So one of the ways, zinc, you guys have probably heard about zinc and zinc role in the immune system. Um, I'll give you guys a few nutrients, and then we'll talk about maybe how to get some of those things in by way of food and which ones that are kind of easy to get in by way of supplements and maybe not cost so much. So zinc is a very important nutrient for so many things. One of the things that it does is it's very instrumental for the immune system. It's very instrumental for immunity, especially along any of the orifices of the body, the things that are exposed to the outside world. So your throat, your GI tract. In men, it's important for sperm development. It's instrumental for so many different things. It's a very important mineral for the body. But for immune health, it's very important. It actually helps even with vitamin A, and vitamin A is one of the vitamins that really helps support the mucosal membrane. So mucosal membranes, as I said, is anything that is exposed to the outside world. So what lines your respiratory tract, what lines your digestive tract, all of those are mucosal membranes. So zinc is integral. Now, zinc, one of the best sources of zinc is meat, seafood. But second and third to that, the next best source of zinc is lentils. Okay. And lentils are probably the cheapest, most filling food that you can come by and cook quickly. When you think of beans, sometimes cooking them from scratch, they take time, right? From dry beans, they take a couple of hours. But lentils, you can cook lentils in 20 minutes, right? You have the base and then you just season them and do whatever you want to do with them. And actually, the requirement for men and women is say roughly around 10 milligrams of zinc per day. And some of the different things that we're hearing, we're saying, okay, maybe go up slightly, 15 milligrams per day, 30 milligrams per day of zinc to be protective. Well, a serving of lentils gives you I think it's something like 15% of your requirement for the day. So that's a pretty decent amount. And a serving is roughly a cup of cooked lentils, which you could quickly make in a salad, or you can have them, in a kind of a gravy, like in Indian restaurants or Indian cuisine, they call it a dal. I think in Trinidad they have something similar
we
to
call it
that, right?
dal too.
And then I make a slammin. I have to pat myself on the back. I make a slammin lentil soup, and it's really tasty. My kids love it. I've made it a few times since we've been here on quarantine. So zinc is something that you can get from lentils, beans, nuts, seeds, and it doesn't cost much to get those foods into your diet, and you can support immune health even if you can't buy zinc as a dietary supplement. Now, buying zinc as a supplement itself is actually not that expensive. The problem, though, is that as soon as this whole thing happened, it was even hard for us as clinicians to get zinc. It was sold out everywhere. So I
Wow.
think there is more coming maybe into the market. I've seen more in some of the stores, but what I'm trying to explain is that you can get it from food. And if you think about lentils, seeds like pumpkin seeds, stuff that you can snack on around the house that don't cost too much money, throw some cranberries or raisins together and make a little trail mix. These are all great sources of zinc and cheap, right? Not too much money and filling at the same time and providing good source of fiber. You're going to move your bowels. Joy's going to talk a little bit about immune health and digestive health, I think, shortly as well.
Me?
So what
I was
happened?
like, me?
Oh, me, or well, us,
Yeah, you know,
us,
we.
us, we. So zinc. So another nutrient I could say would be you guys have probably all heard vitamin C, right? Vitamin C, vitamin C. Again, vitamin C super important for your immune system. Another thing people don't realize vitamin C is important for is your stress uh, hormone, cortisol. So how your body produces this stress hormone. I mean, we're all in this stressful situation. If we're not worried about ourselves, we're worried about family members, we're worried about all kinds of things. So internally, we are dealing with stress. Our body is perceiving stress. And so vitamin C is not just good for the immune system, it's also good for your stress response. And one of the most important aspects is when you're stressed, your immunity is compromised as well. So they kind of go hand in hand. So vitamin C, I think most people are kind of aware of where they can get vitamin C. Citrus fruit is probably the best source of that. But green leafy vegetables, another great
Mm-hmm.
source, of vitamin C that people aren't aware of. Same thing for I mentioned vitamin A. So vitamin A, mostly you're going to get this from meat as well, specifically like organ meat. People don't really eat those, like liver and heart. People don't eat those as much, but you can also get the precursor to vitamin A, which is called beta carotene. And beta carotene is in all of your orange foods. So anything in the rainbow of fruits and vegetables that you see are in the yellow, orange, color. Those all are great sources of beta carotene. In addition, green leafy vegetables, you can throw those in there. They're outside of the yellows and orange, but still a great source of beta carotene. So in those respects, you know, they also don't cost a lot of money. If you guys have noticed when you've gone to the supermarket, now, I'm not minimizing the fact that in some places like New York, in certain neighborhoods, there are what we know of as food deserts and, just the ability to get access to some of these fresh fruits and vegetables is a little bit more difficult. But if that is not a barrier, right, and just knowledge and knowing what to choose versus what not to choose, I would say that if you've noticed, the produce section hasn't really gone down the way other things in the supermarket that you go to look for on the shelf. Sometimes you can't find your favorite snack. You might not find your oatmeal. You might not find your favorite oil or this or that. But if you look in the produce section, every time I go there, I'm finding everything that I look for. Now the price might be slightly higher than normal basis, but there hasn't been a shortage in produce. So looking at produce as really medicinal during this time to support the immune system is also, I would say, high on that totem pole. So we talked about zinc, vitamin C, citrus foods, zinc coming from your lentils, your beans, your nuts, your seeds, all foods and sources that are not too expensive. We talked about beta carotene, right? So all your orange fruits and vegetables, it kind of has a nice overlap with vitamin C. And then your green leafy vegetables again. Um, Another important thing is vitamin D, and there's a lot of research coming out around vitamin D, and especially the African American community, the Black community, and how devastating this coronavirus has been to us. 70%, they were saying that in some places, 70% of the deaths were attributed to the African, the Black community, 70% of the deaths. So one of the things that, if you've had blood work done in recent times, perhaps your doctor has mentioned vitamin D to you, and probably even prescribed vitamin D as a prescription. And if you're not recalling that, then vitamin D is a prescription that the way they normally give it is 1 dose per week for a certain number of weeks. So if you've had a prescription like that in recent times, most likely it was vitamin D. And they give a very high dose that's supposed to build you up. So one thing that's very important to know is that in our community, or people of color, vitamin D is something that you get from the sun. It's not something that really comes from food. Ideally, that's not the best source. It's really UV radiation from the sun, so exposure to the sun. And with our pigment, no matter how light you are, just having the pigment makes you, it produces kind of an interference in that exposure. And then if you live in the Northeast, on top of that, right, we haven't seen sun in a month or so. They're stuck in the side the last couple of weekends when there's been sun, but like we're dying for sun. This is the time of the year that we're like all outside and like just basking in whatever we haven't been able to get, for the last few months. So imagine that vitamin D is not only something that is deficient in most people that live in the Northeast. If you multiply that by the fact that you have any pigment in your skin, it's a natural barrier to vitamin C. Now, if we were living along the equator in the Caribbean and Africa, where the sun is beating down on you all the time, well, guess what? Having a little pigment would be important for our skin, right? Not to burn, but it also is to our detriment here because we're not getting enough vitamin D. And there's been a lot of research coming out that's making the association to the lack of vitamin D and the connection to so many people having, dealing with coronavirus and succumbing to coronavirus. So vitamin D is something that you want to get checked. It's a blood test that will allow you to get checked. I actually, and I'll send this to Joy, or maybe after we're finished, we can do a student's reference resource out. There's a kind of, they're like a non-for-profit organization that has a calculator, and it's really cool. You can put in what your vitamin D level is currently. Like if you ask your doctor, what was your last blood work? You can put whatever that vitamin D level was, and then you can, calculate where you want it to be. So the low normal is 30 milligrams. 30 units, right? You want your vitamin D to be roughly at about 30 on the blood work. In naturopathic medicine, we're really trying to actually push people upwards of 50 is more optimal, 50, 55, but just low normal is 30. And a lot of people, I know people in my family have tested at 15, 17, okay? And that's not abnormal. And I'm talking about people who are fairer than me, but don't go outside much. You know what I'm saying? Like, my mother, for instance. So when we're talking about another nutrient, vitamin D is something that you can get a prescription for. Right now, most doctors are doing, telemedicine visits. Even if you were to just try to find out if you have a portal with your doctor, what your last vitamin D level was, right? If you had blood work in the last year, most likely, if you haven't taken vitamin D recently and you went through the entire winter, you're probably low. So getting that number, like I said, we can get that resource to you, that website where you can plug in that number. And if you even put that your goal is to reach 30, if you're at 17 or 15 right now, you want to reach the low normal, it'll tell you how much vitamin D you should probably take. And then you can go buy that at the store. And vitamin D, for the amount of benefit that it offers, is really worth any money it costs. And it definitely costs less than $10 to get at least a couple months supply of vitamin D. So that's something that's not going to come in food format. but that is worth the dollar if you need to buy it off the shelf.
Yeah, I have a prescription for vitamin D, and it's like one per week. I guess
One
it's
per
a
week.
very potent one.
It's a high dose. Yep.
Yeah, very high dose. And when I take it, I'm like, a super ninja or something.
This is the other thing people don't realize. I'm glad you mentioned that, Joy. People don't realize about vitamin D. If you are deficient and you are chronically tired, they go hand in hand. Like vitamin D, when you take vitamin D when you're deficient and it's something that your body is craving, you don't even know what it does to your energy level. It really boosts your energy. And the thing about the prescription is that yes, the prescription can help you get your levels up quicker than doing like a daily dose of a 2000 IU or something like that. However, what I like about the daily dosing is that it's incremental the way it builds. It's going to build more slowly, but imagine you get that little boost of energy on a daily basis versus the ninja that Joy becomes.
Yeah.
I think it's a little bit better to like scale back the ninja and just be like a fully functional human being on a daily basis.
No, I needed it because I think I was like 15 or 13, but she was like, you need to get this now. But two people just joined. What happened? Apparently the link wasn't working. So I'm like, because I'm like, it's like 17 people sign up. So thank you, Robin, for letting me know. And I was like, let me check my email. So, but glad you guys came in. We still got a couple more minutes to go. And you can, put your questions in the chat box right there. Robin asked, what are your thoughts on nightshade vegetables?
Okay, so nightshade vegetables, honestly, I don't stay away from them because I don't have an issue with them, but nightshade vegetables can be slightly inflammatory. And for people who are dealing with arthritis, that's one of the things that you can generally pull out of their diet and see if that improves their pain because they can be more inflammatory. Um, the for instance, potato. So nightshade, for those who don't know, this is the tomatoes, potatoes, eggplant, peppers. All of that falls into that family of nightshade vegetables. Um, one of the things I was going to say is another great source of vitamin C that people don't realize is red bell peppers. Actually, the thought came across my mind when we were talking about it, but I didn't say it. But in this case, that would be considered a nightshade. So I think there are many more inflammatory things in people's diet than nightshade vegetables. So I would actually suggest that you look into other things first. One of the cool things that, now if you are home, if you're not an essential worker, that you can actually look into is what's called a elimination diet. And elimination diet is it's not an easy diet to do, but if you're home and you can kind of prepare your own things, it's a diet to do under these circumstances because I think you have more control and less stress because you can prepare most of your meals. But the elimination diet is oftentimes used to identify like a potential food that is causing some kind of systemic damage in the body, or like a food that's creating inflammation and you're not able to connect the dots. So it's not like, okay, someone who's allergic to seafood, they eat the shellfish and then 1 hour later they feel the swelling in their throat and they're like, hey, I'm allergic. It's not that kind of direct allergy. The food elimination diet really tries to target a couple of major groups, and some of those major groups are like gluten, so family of like wheat, rye, barley. That's a major group that a lot of people are sensitive to. Eggs, soy, dairy, and then there's some lesser groups, peanuts. They sometimes pull out some of the tree nuts. So You can look this up online, Elimination Diet. An elimination diet, it really takes place over like 3 full weeks. So actually, if society is going to be getting back together in the next month, we're going to be going back to offices and stuff like that. You still have time. If it's June 15th, as they're thinking, or June 1st. But essentially, you take 2 weeks, you remove these major food groups from your diet, and then you add them back in one by one during what's called the challenge phase. And the challenge phase is you add that one food. So say you remove the gluten, dairy, blah, blah, blah. Then you add gluten back in. You eat bread a couple of times in a day. Then you wait for the next 2 days to see how your body responds. Do you have more headache? Do you have more bloating? Do you have more pain, more joint pain? Do you find that you are more lethargic? You have more, fatigue during the day. So it helps you to isolate. So back to nightshades, I would actually look at some of those other major inflammatory foods first, and then nightshades maybe after, if you notice that you don't have symptoms with, the nightshade, or excuse me, if you don't have symptoms with some of those other major inflammatory groups, then nightshades might be something, to pull out. That's probably how I would approach that. Joy, can I also see questions? Should I? Joy, you're on mute.
All right. At a parent moment, I was way talking up a storm. Yeah, you can see question in your chat box. You should be like blinking. So there's a question about like, what do you think about drinking whey protein?
In general, like whey protein actually has a lot of benefits. It's been studied a lot for building muscle, lean muscle mass. Whey protein actually also has an element of it that boosts your immune system. There's an immune aspect to whey protein that's really good. I'm not against it as long as a person is not sensitive to dairy, right? Because whey is a dairy derivative. It's not as inflammatory. It's a kind of protein, but it's not as inflammatory as casein, which is another protein from milk. But it's still a milk protein.
Yeah.
Personally, and what I tend to recommend is actually plant-based protein. It just kind of takes you out of the possibility of having some sensitivity to whey. And they've actually shown that plant-based proteins that have a combination of brown rice along with pea protein. So not brown rice, individually, not pea protein individually, but the combination of the two actually works as well as whey protein. Animal proteins are much more easy to incorporate into our own muscle than plant protein. So it just takes a lot more plant protein to do that job. So I would say it's fine as long as you're not sensitive to dairy. But if you'd like to do something that would reduce inflammation in general, I would go to a plant-based. Because the last thing about whey is that if it's coming from a cow, from cow's milk, what were those cows fed? Is it organic? Is it grass fed? So when I start to think into all of those aspects of whey protein, I'm like, oh, this is just too difficult to find a brand, that checks all those boxes for me. So I would prefer to go to like an organic plant-based protein if possible.
Yeah, I found that calcium, does make you bloated. I took it once ever, and that was it. But I have another question. But before I jump to that question, I know we're going to talk about this in session, I think in session 2 or 3, hormonal health. But just to touch on gut health as it relates to immune function, because I know, that goes hand in hand.
So, 70% of the immune system is in the gut. I don't know if you guys have heard that before, but a large part of the immune system resides in your GI tract. And, you know, the other thing that resides in your GI tract is your nervous system as well. So people, they associate immune system with like, these little immune cells, white blood cells traveling around, but a large part of it is your gut bacteria that actually affords you immune boosting properties and immune balancing properties, right? So when I think of immune system, I'm not just thinking of directly, making sure that all of my little warriors, my white blood cells are, those soldiers are, working up to par. I'm also thinking about the bacteria in your gut. So those bacteria, you have like two sets of bacteria. They actually say there's more bacteria in your gut than cells in your body.
Mm.
So you have an abundance of bacteria in your gut, abundance. And what you can have is a lot of you have good bacteria, you have bad bacteria, right? So you have ones that are working for you, you have ones that are working against you. You've heard of some of the ones that work against you, things like E. coli, right? So when we talk about, there being contamination in the past, it's been of spinach and all these different things. Oftentimes these are bacteria that actually are bad bacteria for the gut that can, lead to many symptoms if they are consumed on the lettuce or the spinach or whatever that we eat. So you have good bacteria, you have bad bacteria, and all of us have a combination of both. The point is how much of each one, what's the balance, right? Mm-hmm. So you need to have a lot more good bacteria than bad bacteria in order to have strong immune health, in order to have strong gut health overall. Now, how do you support the good bacteria? The good bacteria are supported by the food you eat, right? So you ingest the food, you chew it up, you swallow it, it goes to the stomach has acid, it breaks down whatever forms of, the food that it works on, like protein. The food keeps traveling, it gets to the small intestine. In the small intestine, the first part of it is responsible for absorption. So it's going to absorb whatever nutrients it needs to absorb. You also have enzymes and other processes that are happening there to digest other things, make them as small as possible so that the body can absorb them and utilize them. Now, the rest of what you eat continues through what you've eaten continues through the GI tract. What you absorb is very small compared to what actually comes out. The large bulk of it is what comes out. And so as those foods travel along the large intestine, they can either feed the bacteria there and provide a fuel source that supports good bacteria, or they can feed bad bacteria and provide a food source that they like. Good bacteria and bad bacteria don't like the same kind of food. It's like, they don't like the same kinds of food. So when you have a diet that is high in fiber, it feeds good bacteria. When you have a diet that's high in meat, those meat products, animal-based products, what they do is they can putrefy. So they actually ferment, and they produce all of these just substances that fuel the bad bacteria. That's their preference. So having a very balanced diet, which goes back to what we talked about, that's more of a plant-based diet, is one way to just start to turn the balance in the favor of good bacteria. And when you have more of those good bacteria, you have more immune boosting properties. That's just kind of the simplest way to look at it. Now, in addition to the foods that you eat in just your regular diet, the foods that you add, like certain spices, spices are awesome, right? If you cook with spices, especially fresh ones, you know what it does to your food. It just, brightens up the taste of the food. But on top of that, a lot of spices, what makes them so have such an aroma, right, that they bring to the food. So a lot of those aromatic or compounds, aroma giving compounds, actually work to kill bad bacteria and to amplify or support good bacteria. So they have like this dual mechanism. Their role is that they are toxic to bad bacteria, but they support good bacteria. They're very biased in that way. So some of those spices that I can think about: garlic, oregano, onions, the aroma, that those strong smelling spices that we put in our food, rosemary. These things actually have potent oils in them that kill bad bacteria, preserve good bacteria, and like turmeric, right? That's in curry. I do in my work in the nutraceutical industry. I do a lot of work around curcumin, which is the active ingredient turmeric. I've been to India 3 times. I know how this thing grows. I know how they process it. Um, there's a lot of research talking about, how anti-inflammatory and how immune supportive turmeric is. But the most recent research about it says that it's this way because of what it does in the gut, not what it does when it gets into the body, goes through the bloodstream, amplifies, stimulates your white blood cells. It actually has its benefit in the gut. And what it does is it's directly uh, toxic to bad bacteria. At the same time, it feeds and it promotes good bacteria. And that balance that's in favor of good bacteria is actually how you improve your immune health and reduce your inflammation and improve just overall gut health, from a local place and general health from a more broader place. So I would say that in short, that's how immunity is connected to gut health. And what you can do about it is to incorporate more plant-based foods, and to incorporate a lot more spices when you can. A lot of people think of probiotics and automatically think of yogurt. Yogurt's not bad, but you need to get good quality yogurt that doesn't have all the sugar and the sprinkles and chocolate chips and all kinds of stuff inside. You need to get a plain, it sounds boring, but you need to get a plain Greek yogurt, and then you add your own berries and your own things to them. And that's really how yogurt can be beneficial, to your gut, but not with all the M&Ms and all the extra stuff added in there.
Awesome. I love me some Greek yogurt. So I had another question, but before I jump to that question, because I know we knew these topics, you can go on and talk about this. It's just so much information when it comes to health and when it comes to women's health, especially. I'll ask that question after, but I want to jump into just a quick 3-minute, 3 exercises for you guys, because I know it's like 1 minute to 9, so don't go nowhere, stay on. We're going to do this in 10 minutes and answer your questions, right? But let me share my screen. So, all right, down. All right, so this is one of the exercise 1. Now, this is a 3-minute workout. You can do it as many times as you want in terms of time. And I'm gonna play it again. This is one of my favorite exercise: dumbbell squat, 2 bicep curl, and shoulder press. Now you're home, you're trying to figure out what to do. You have a small space, maybe, who knows? But you don't know what to do, or you may not be able to go outside. This move is a compound movement, and what a compound movement is, it's working the entire body. We're not just squatting, we're doing a curl up, we're pushing it up in the air. Everything's working. You got to keep your core tight to do all of this as well. So, and you guys probably, I have not shared this on my Instagram yet, but this is a whole video. It's going to go up on my YouTube. At the end of this 3-week series, you'll get it in your email, don't worry. But this is one of my favorite exercises: dumbbell squat to bicep curl and shoulder press. But here's the thing: if you don't have dumbbells, you can use bottled water, can of peas, and it's the same intensity, you know, just lighter weights, and you do more reps if you want to. Like in that 1 minute, you can crack at least 10 to 15 of these. And, you know, you're working the glutes, working your core, working the shoulders, working the bicep. You're hitting everything at the same time. And as Dr. Siobhan said earlier, like the body is a whole, you know, and in exercise, we say your body is a kinetic chain. Everything connects. You don't just work one side of the arm and, you know, expect the other side to function. You know, you have to work everything together. The next one is this one. It's one of the exercises we used in sports performance. It's a rotational movement, and it's called the, well, when it decides to play, it's called the Woodchucks. Let me see. There you go. Did it move? Ah, what happened? Hold on. Somebody's probably on the internet. And let's try this.
Joy, while you're working on that, let me just bring in another note about immune health and exercising. So, you know, right now, you know, I heard the other day that, you know, maybe gyms are going to reopen in a couple of weeks, but if, you know, you're going to have to work so many machines from people and whatever. And, you know, there's going to be certain amenities that's not going to be able to be used. But one of the most important things I think as it pertains to movement and your immune health is that they've actually, and Joy, I didn't realize until today that you had that article that you sent it, I think, as part of your email about how exercise, they found that we know that the coronavirus is affecting the respiratory tract.
Yeah.
You know, the respiratory system. And they found that by moving, by doing exercises, by the breathing, that, you know, those exercises encourages deep breathing, that you actually improve SOD. SOD is superoxide dismutase. It is the most powerful antioxidant that we have in the body. And it's an enzyme, it's a antioxidant that we create. You don't really go buy SOD like as a supplement. You create it by having certain precursors and in certain atmosphere. And so they said that one of the things that they tested is doing certain exercises that increase your breathing, increase your heart rate. That one of the direct influences of that is increased antioxidants in your respiratory tract, in your lung tissue, which helps your lungs to perform better and helps them protect themselves from, you know, from these viruses that are creating free radicals. So antioxidants help to balance what we call oxidative stress or free radicals. So these viruses are coming in, the virus is coming in and just wreaking all kind of havoc and causing all kind of inflammation and free radical damage. And by you exercising, you're actually increasing the defenses right locally inside of the respiratory tract. The most powerful antioxidant that our body makes, superoxide dismutase.
Wow. I mean, I read the article and I noticed even before I read the article, excuse me, but, you know, I've been telling people to keep moving through during this quarantine and, you know, just keep moving. Like whether you're inside, keep moving. Now, this is the second move. It's the Woodchuck with a ball. Now I'm using a 20-pound or 6-pound ball. I'm not sure, who knows, but you can use a football, a basketball, a soccer ball, some kind of ball that just gives you the motion. If you don't have a ball, hello, you can use those same 2 water bottles and 2 can of peas, just something in your hand, and you twist and up. Oh, I tell you guys, this is a video, so you're gonna get it. All right, don't worry. That's the second exercise. And the third one, now this is all you could do in literally 3 minutes. This one is some heavier weights I'm using here. But again, you can use water bottle and can of peas. All right, it's a deadlift and a row, a bent over row. Again, compound movements. I love these. I could literally use 10 minutes before this webinar and I can get this workout in 10-15 minutes. I do 3 sets of this workout done. I'm sweating buckets like if I, you know, ran a marathon or something. So these are 3 of the like one of my favorite moves to do, and it works the entire body. And also, if you have like back issues and different things like that, deadlifts is one of the things that they use, especially in the power moves. Like, to see those men doing bam, lifting heavy weights, is to deadlift, because in order to deadlift, you need to have a strong back. But in order to get a strong back, you need to deadlift. Right? So
it sounds like the gut immune house, right? And the bacteria. In order to get them, you got to.
Yeah, you gotta get the bad one. But and these are three of my favorite ones. And this thing I call as many reps as possible is arm wrap. As many reps as possible you can do within that 1 minute. And whether you have 10 minutes, 15 minutes, these three exercises, you can kill it. Oh yeah, see, I did that in hold on, go back. Question. So the question was something about pH in the water. I think was my screen.
I see it here. Does pH balanced water make a difference in your health? I think yes. I have, how can you say? Yes, it does. But not to the exclusion of balancing pH in the food that you eat as well. So I think it's a combination of the two, right? There's many expensive contraptions and whatever to get pH water, but then, people don't consider the foods that they eat as well. So I think, yes, if you can increase the pH of your water, this is very important. The water is literally carrying oxygen to your body. And having water that has a higher pH, tends to just create more balance in the body and reduce inflammation in the body. When you take that over into diet, it kind of doubles those efforts, where you are taking in foods, all of the foods we talked about tonight, all of the plant-based foods, they also give you a more alkaline system, which is a system that's slightly, your blood slightly above the normal pH of 7.4. So you want to be more alkaline. In an alkaline environment, bacteria don't like it, viruses don't like it, all of the disease states, they actually function in a low oxygen environment. Every disease, every cancer cell likes to be away from oxygen, because oxygen is life, right? We have to breathe it in. Even you see the people now that are, in the hospitals. I've had a number of family and friends that have had to actually go to the hospital with this coronavirus, and the first measure they take is to put them on oxygen, pure oxygen, to try to increase the oxygenation of the blood under these circumstances. So oxygen is life. And whenever you can increase the pH of your food or your water, it's a great thing. But I would just say, don't do it to the exclusion of just focusing on the water and then having foods that are very acidic, because you're just going to pull it back down with the food as well.
Awesome. Mel, I'm sure you would like that response, because I know you're always looking into alkaline in your diet and pH this and pH that. So I know you like that, response. Guys, any other questions? Now, if we didn't answer your question tonight, because I don't want to go too much over, I say 9:15 is my max, but any other questions, please leave it in the chat box here, or DM, send me in the emails. And remember, we have 2 more sessions, all right? And the last session, I want to leave, a good bit of time where you can ask your questions and get your questions answered, because guess what? We can share the information, but in order for you guys to utilize it, you got to know, hey, you know what? I want to know this, I want to know that. And we're able to, respond and tell you, hey, okay, this is what you need to do, this is what you need to stop doing, and so on. So get your questions ready, send it via email so we know, because we got 2 more sessions to go, next Wednesday the 20th and the 27th. I'm gonna try to fix this whole the link thing, so when the next email goes out, there should be the right link. And, you know,
Recommend, share this with someone also, because even myself, I think I thought maybe this would be like a lie, like a Facebook live for some reason. I was not. Maybe I didn't read the fine print.
why you didn't
But
read the fine print?
I didn't read the fine print. But the point is that I'm gonna even do a much more thorough promotion. But I definitely think that when we started out, we talked about how um, you know with this particular coronavirus that a lot of our people have succumbed to it. As I've been in a lot of different conversations with other doctors and then listening to other doctors, particularly of color, one of the things that we actually realize is that sometimes the messaging is there, but you don't receive it because it doesn't come from someone who looks like you, who you actually think has your best interest in mind. And there's just a lot of, you know, we have a lot of history of medicine being used, unfortunately, against us or to harm, us as a community. And so that sits in a lot of people's spirit or whatever. And so I say that to say, share that, sometimes maybe if people see the information coming from someone,
They
who looks
know.
like them, Joy, myself, um, perhaps it might settle in a little bit better and maybe be the start to make change. So if you guys thought this was good or helpful, definitely recommend someone else come on with you for the next two.
Yes.
Also, Siobhan, I was writing while you were talking, so I'm gonna do a brief summary
Oh,
and
nice.
share it on the All About the Sisters platform, so that
Yay.
and then send it out to the mailing list and all of that stuff, because I think this is really good. Like all of this stuff that you've said here, I know, but we don't really pay attention because we think we're feeling fine. But when times happen like this, then we realize, oh my God, I totally need to be taking my vitamin D, which I wasn't doing, taking my vitamin C and all of that stuff. So this is really good information to share, and I'm going to definitely send it out tomorrow.
Thank you,
Awesome.
And encourage people to come on next week
Yes.
for sure.
2 more series, I'm like, this information people pay hundreds of dollars for. I'm telling you, Dr. Siobhan is no, people literally waiting in line weeks to see a naturopathic doctor. Trust me, I have clients I've recommended and they're waiting months because it's a waiting list and there's so many people and, just to see a naturopathic doctor. So, share with your friends and family, let them know, hey, get on there and get their questions answered too. So, we're going to leave a little bit more room at the end for questions. So thank you guys for joining us. These are, I shared some links. I did a little nice thingy there. You can find us on, all of you guys know on social media. You probably see me or find this webinar on social media at JoyFit World, and Dr. Siobhan is.
One thing is, mine is Dr. Siobhan ND. Remember, we had to fix that. N as in Nancy, D as in dog for the website.
Oh yeah, ND, right?
Yeah.
See? Technology, I could just switch it up. You
Just
see that?
in the moment. Yeah.
Dr. Siobhan, Andy. Last but not least, this book, The Black Family Healthopedia. This is an amazing book. I got to read it twice, and you need to get it for your family. You need to gift it to somebody. It was written by 4 amazing Black doctors. Dr. Siobhan is one of them, and 3 other Black female doctors, and information in there. You got supplement guide if you suffer from, what you call those tummy things? Yeah, hypertension, diabetes, women's health, hormonal.
We'll talk about women's health next week, so maybe I'll definitely pull from that book next week, and when we talk about women's health, I'll definitely pull. I wrote the chapter on women's health.
Women's health, yeah.
So we can definitely pull from there next week as well.
Yeah, it's an awesome book. I did a review and I was like, whoa, this is so needed, because I really think if we have the information, less of us will be having, ending up with cancers of different kinds and different things, and not knowing and not understanding where this came from. I didn't have it in my family gene. just all of a sudden, you know, just all these different things. The book really is great. But please join us again next week. I will be sending, you know, another email with the proper, it's the link. I don't know what Zoom did. I don't know what Eventbrite did. It's the same link that I've shared. So you guys, thank you so much for joining us. And please share, and if you're on social media, share that you know,